it's Liz Yuille from Old Stables Crafts. Thank you for joining me again today. Today I thought I would bring you the card that I have sent out with my February thank yous, somewhat later than anticipated due to the unexpected trip to Norway. However, hopefully by the time you watch this video, the recipients of the gift and card will have received all their goodies. Normally I send things out second class just to save some money, but this month, because it was all late, I have sent everything out first class, so fingers crossed. And apologies, I have not done my nails. I've only been back in the UK at the point where I'm filming this for a couple of days, and they were the least of my priorities. So, excuse me, I'm using the All Adorned stamp set, which is part of the Celebration second release. This is specifically aimed at being used with the Stamparatus, although it can obviously be used without the Stamparatus. What I'm going to be using is the You Are Pretty Much the Best Ever, because I have to say I've emailed everybody who is getting the thank you gift pack to explain what's happened. This went out before I left Norway, and without exception they have come back and said, family first, really, it doesn't matter, take your time, etc, etc. So they pretty much are the best ever. So if you watched my video on Monday the 18th, you would have seen that I used this stamp here for the box that I made, but I thought I would use the words this time. And I'm using the InColor embossing powder, specifically the Grapefruit Grove, but obviously it comes in all the colours, so we've got Lovely Lipstick, Pineapple Punch, Call Me Clover and Blueberry Bushel. Comes in this lovely little tube, and you get a good amount of the powder, so it's quite a fun thing to have. We don't generally do coloured embossing powders, but the Stamparatus has been absolutely my friend, because this is what I've done so far, and I've got more to go. But I thought while I'm in the mid-process, I would show you how I've done it. So, Stamparatus all set up and ready to go. Let's pop the stamp case underneath, because that helps keep everything the right height. I have got, because this is photopolymer, I have got my standard base, then I've got the foam mat. I have this because I've had it for a while. Before we had the mini grid paper, I laminated a piece of ordinary grid paper, so I've kind of got into the habit of using it, and then a piece of our mini grid paper. And I'm just using a magnet to hold that all in place, because for this particular card, as I'm just doing a straight emboss, I'm not too worried about the card moving. If it does need re-stamping, everything's right in that corner, so I'm quite happy. Embossing buddy, as ever, whenever you're using embossing powder, use your embossing buddy, because you just don't know how much grease you might have on your fingers. Versamark ink, ink up, are we in camera? Yes, we are. Ink up your sentiment and flip over and just stamp. Now, obviously, to line this up, I just put my card down, put the stamp where I wanted it, flipped the plate over, picked up the stamp, made sure that the stamp was then square on the plate, because we've got these grid lines, because then I know that this is stamped straight. Piece of scrap paper, because these are just the InColors. I've not put them in a plastic box, but obviously you could. Just sprinkle over your embossing powder, and just a little tap to get off any stray pieces. There's one just there, and that's all done. And then take your pot, fold your piece of paper in half, or curl it in half, I suppose, give it a tap, and it all goes back into your little pot. And I always try and put the lid back on before I do anything else. Right, okay, so obviously I've got some more to do, but let's stop for the moment. Grab my trusty cheese board, as ever. What would I do without my trusty cheese board? pop my card on, grab my heat tool, and this is where things are going to get noisy. So I'm just going to heat that up and make sure it is properly hot. And then, noise alert. Now I'm not a wafter. I will waft in a minute, but only after everything has melted. And I will show you why I waft once everything has melted. Okay, so I then will pick up and just go over the back just to flatten everything back out, because applying heat to one corner of your card will make it warp a little, but by wafting over the back that all flattens out. So let's grab one that I've already done, because that will be a little damp. So here's one I've already done, and then you just fold your note card in half as ever. Must get a clean piece of grit paper. It's not expensive. Why haven't I cleaned it? And there we are. Now you can then grab, let me find what I'm looking for. Hopefully they are in here. Artisan pearls come in, amongst other colours, Grapefruit Grove. So as we're using Grapefruit Grove, I thought we could add a Grapefruit Grove pearl, just as a little bit of something, but obviously you don't have to. Now if you haven't got the embossing powders, you could just use the Grapefruit Grove ink. All I would say is, because this is very vanilla, using Grapefruit Grove on very vanilla, in fact using any colour on very vanilla, will slightly change the colour of the ink. By using the embossing powder you get a true Grapefruit Grove. So just bear that in mind. Now let's grab a piece of very vanilla. So there's a piece of just ordinary very vanilla. Let me grab my Grapefruit Grove and let's, it helps of course if you open a stamp set that's actually got something in it. So if I grab a stamp and a block, and just, if it's a new stamp I like to just rub it on the back of my hand, because then it's more likely to stamp cleanly first time. So if I just ink that up and try to see if I've got a scrap of very vanilla, but not obviously. You'd think I'd have planned this really, wouldn't you? So that is beautiful, but it's not what I would call true Grapefruit Grove. So if I do the same again on a scrap of Whisper White, I don't know if you can see, let me pick it up and see if you can tell or see. Can you see, this one is what I would call true Grapefruit Grove. This one's gone a bit more orange, and that's because it's picking up the background of the very vanilla. So if I then bring in the embossed, you can see that it's the same colour as on the Whisper White, as opposed to the same colour on very vanilla. So that's why, if you want true colour on your very vanilla, or indeed any other colour cardstock, if you go for the embossing powders, you will get that. So let's go really bizarre. Let me see if I can find a scrap of something completely bizarre, just to prove my point. Of course, everything I've got is kind of pale. What have I got that would make it very... Oh, I know what would. This is going to be quite in your face, but you know, let's go for it. So, Granny Apple Green. Let me bring this back in. So, if I do it that way, that should hit. Okay, let me prove a point. So, ink up, embossing buddy, stamp, and I'm deliberately going towards the bottom so I can then stamp something on top. So embossing buddy, scrap of paper. Oh, this is going to be in your face. I think I've managed to go about as far across the spectrum of colour as you can possibly go. But hey, it will prove my point. Pop this back in here. Pop the top on. I have seen someone do some embossing, heat embossing, with the lid off their embossing powder and end up with a tub of embossing powder that is solid embossing. It's a lovely look, just not what you're looking for. Right. So. Now, obviously you wouldn't necessarily want Grapefruit Grove on top of Granny Apple Green, but as I say, I'm kind of doing this deliberately to prove a point. So that is our Grapefruit Grove embossing powder. If I then grab Grapefruit Grove ink and let's just pop that there and stamp. I think I've kind of made my point. This doesn't look anything like Grapefruit Grove. This looks exactly like Grapefruit Grove. So if you want Grapefruit Grove, or indeed any of the other current InColors, so that's the 2018-2020 InColors, if you want that contrast on a weird coloured cardstock, I mean, you know, Granny Apple Green and Grapefruit Grove, if you want the Grapefruit Grove or any of the other InColors to stand out against a not white background, this is the way to go. Anyway, thank you very much indeed for watching. This was actually the card I was showing you. Obviously I will have information over on my website. The associated link is immediately below, so if you go, I think it's the second link down underneath the description bar, or in the description bar, click on that, you'll go over to my website to see further information about this and how to order. Do remember when you order to use the host code if your order is between £20 and £150. £150 upwards, don't use the code because you become your own host, so you get to choose the rewards. But if you use the host code, you get a free product gift from me and sunflower awards. So really worth bearing that in mind, because when you get lots of sunflower awards, well 10 sunflower awards, you can exchange those for up to £30 of product. Thank you very much indeed for watching. Do remember that Celebration continues until the 31st of March, so for every £45 you spend, you get to choose a free product from the Celebration offerings. Any questions or comments, please do leave a comment below or email me. My email details are over on my website. If you've enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, and I hope to see you again very soon. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye!